Welcome to the D&D world. Good evening, and welcome back to another LoreLink stream. We're here this evening with Jonathan from uh, Firestorm Inc.
Firestorm.
There it is,
Perfect.
Firestorm
Perfect. Yeah, there you
Inc.
go. Yeah, there you go.
Completely blanked. Welcome. Thanks
That's
for being
perfect.
here tonight.
No, thanks for
No,
having
thanks
me.
for
It's great
having
to
me.
be
It's
here.
great to be here.
So I'm really excited to talk to you about We Used to Be Friends. I had the opportunity to read through the complete PDF of the system over the weekend, and it's really sounds like a lot of fun.
Well,
Thank you.
that's
Thank you.
always
That's
the
always
goal,
the
right?
goal, right?
When I
Right?
right, like
No, this game.
no, this game.
I
I
probably
probably
would
would
be
be
a
a person to be
person to be
like,
like,
I
I
designed
designed
this
this
game.
game.
It's
It's
a
a
piece
piece
of
of
art.
art.
Don't
It's
interact
terrible.
with
Don't
it,
interact
right?
with it, right?
Michael, Jonathan's doubled on an echo.
Oh,
My
my
audio
audio
seems to
seems to
Interesting.
be.
All right, one
Hold on,
second.
let
We've
me
got a
double
doubled
check.
audio situation. One second.
Is it a shared
Is it a
screen? You might
shared
need to
screen? You
mute
might
the
need to
shared
mute the
screen.
shared screen.
One second. Screen share. I'm not taking audio from the screen share,
Welcome to the D&D world.
but I will,
Mute
and
it
I'll
over
mute it. Okay. I only have you. Oh, I know what's wrong. My bad. Try again.
Technology.
Yes, technology for the win. Yeah, I had accidentally enabled my desktop audio source, so that's my bad. You know
Hey,
what?
all
If
good,
if streaming was easy, everybody would do it.
right? Right.
Hey,
Yeah, no, like so.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead. You first, and I'll probably
no,
answer
go
after.
for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, no, We Used to Be Friends is a very long labor of love.
Yeah.
Um, where I did the game designer thing where I said, wouldn't it be great if blank? And then everyone turned to me and I said, great, I guess I have to design that thing.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, and so the inspiration is pretty clear. It's very like my heart near and dear to me. Veronica Mars is one of my comfort shows. I loved it so much.
Yeah.
And I was like, this would be a great game. And the joking original title was Veronica Monster Hearts. Um, and a friend of mine, she turned to me and she was like, "So you're making it, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess I am."
Yeah. I guess
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and hopefully that comes through a lot in what you read from the book.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And, like, this is one of the dangers of being a creative person is you always want to bring to life the ideas that get floated around, and sometimes you do and sometimes they work out. So
Yeah, sometimes it take a long time. I mean, I also up the difficulty. Because for those people who don't know, We Used to Be Friends is my teenage detective collaborative drama game. It's powered by the apocalypse. So if you've played any PBTA game, a lot of it's going to be familiar. But one of the things that it is that I've made a bunch, and this is my biggest one. There's no GM. It is a collaborative mystery game using powered by the apocalypse. And so you basically it follows my heart because I'm not a prepper when it comes to GMing. I'm very much an off the cuff kind of thing. I'm playing a game right now where I have to make maps and I feel so constrained. And so like it's like, but no, then it's there and I have to deal with the fact that it's there. I can't just make stuff up.
yeah,
Um and so mystery games in particular, if you want them to be good, you need to have something for the players to kind of follow, or else it goes everywhere and then it doesn't have a good cohesive bit. And that was a challenge to try to do it
right.
collaboratively, where how do you make a collaborative game without a GM but still have a compelling mystery?
That was impressive because I'm gonna be honest, I was a little bit skeptical by the claim. How can you do that? And reading through, it's like I think you nailed it. And it's at the end of the day, taking turns telling a story collaboratively, you start to reveal the truth. Everybody has an opportunity to kind of make a discovery or make a claim or kind of move to the next step on what this is. And I think it works. It's such a cool concept. And I don't think in a million years I ever would have come up with a concept like that. And I'd have never seen that anywhere else where you can have this GM-less game that has elements of suspense and discovery like that.
Right. And like the thing that helps too is that actually one of the best things that came up with it isn't mine. Tim Groth came up with the clue chart. And that was the most amazing thing because one of the difficulties with playing the game sometimes is people having to come up with a clue and even abstracting it, right? Like having to tell people because that's the thing when you so forget for people watching. In We Used to Be Friends, there's two different moves for clues. The first one is you discover a clue, right? And there's a section on what you do with clues. You want to abstract it as much as possible. You don't want to provide any context for what the clue is. It's just a thing or a feeling or something that it's a phone number, it's a picture, it's a rumor, it's something in particular, but you don't necessarily have the context for it yet. And then there's a separate move called putting it all together, which then applies the context to the clue by associating it with a suspect. It'll either create the suspect or associate it with a suspect, and then there that will then provide the context for it, right? It's Jessica's phone number. It's the teacher's notebook. It's all this kind of stuff, and that's what's interesting. And because when you add that context and you start moving the clues around, like what does it mean that Phil has Jessica's phone number? You
And
know?
the general guideline is that the same player doesn't do two moves in a row. So
Mhm.
if I find a clue, then maybe you get to figure out where that clue goes or who it belongs to or what it looks like.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is compelling to me.
Oh, I'm glad. A part of it too was also, you know, um, how do you help facilitate and kind of foster a collaborative environment in a game? You know, because you have different personalities. You got big personalities who can take over a collaborative
Mhm.
game. It's almost like quarterbacking in a cooperative board game.
Yeah.
I know the idea. I know how the story's going to go, but it's like that's not the point. The point is supposed to share, right?
Yeah.
And and so part of that rule too is also in place to kind of put the brakes on some of those players that want to just keep making
Yep.
take over the scene and make move after move after move after move because their character is constantly trying to do things because they naturally have an idea of one. It's not, a bad trait, but it's just you get excited, you have an idea of how you want the story to go, and then you're not collaborating, you're writing a book with other people present,
Yep. Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Back in high school, I did the one of the most fun creative writing exercises I've ever done with one of my good friends, and we wrote a book together, short story. But I
Mhm.
would write a chapter and then leave a cliffhanger. He would take over and do something wild with that hook that I left him and then leave another cliffhanger, back and forth and back and forth. And it was so much fun to do
Mhm.
that and to see what the other person is going to do. And the story takes this wild shape that you never in a million years would have come up with. But this feels like that experience to me.
Right. It really is. It really does kind of have that kind of hope that you kind of it goes into places you don't expect, right?
Mhm.
And you think it's going to go some way, and then someone throws a clue somewhere else, and you're like, "Oh my god, what was that? Why does that mean?" And then you get to be both that participant and the audience more actively. Not to say you don't do that in other things, but like
Right.
you have direction, and then it
Right.
changes, and then you get to be excited about that direction change.
Right. We have a comment on stream. I think Alice is Missing does a good job of that too. I have not played Alice is Missing.
I haven't played it either, but it's on my list of games to play, and I know about it, and I
Nice.
feel like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
would do it too, because again, you can't talk, right? And so you have to
Right.
like work through the medium to do it, and so you can't like I mean, taking a long time to write your message in Alice is Missing invalidates your message sometimes because if people are quickly texting back and forth and you're up here and responding to something up here, like what does that mean? Like even the medium completely changes that. So yeah, 100%. I think that that would that I mean, I also am think that's a like a beautiful comparison, even that to be mentioned in that.
Yeah.
So
And I'll tell you one thing that I never fail to be surprised by. The more we do streaming, the more we talk about different systems and talk to different creative people, and even doing like workshops and seminars at gaming conventions, there's always one person that brings up a game I have absolutely never heard of, and it's just such a cool thing in this ecosystem of TTRPGs. How incredibly diverse it is, how many different types of games there are, how many
Hmm.
different approaches to storytelling and collaboration, and how we get together and do this thing. It's been a lot of fun learning over the last few years as I've been doing this.
Right? I mean, we're made of stories and games. Like that's
Yeah.
at heart who we are. Like
Oh,
you tell
absolutely.
someone a story, everyone's going to want to listen, right?
Yep.
You want to play a game where people are. It doesn't again, not a board game, but a game. People are in,
Yep.
and it's a beautiful thing. Like I'm always too, like I'm always complete and utterly like what blows me away too with a lot of the current because I've been doing this slowly for a long period of time. I started out, well, my design career started out. Had the line license for Cyber Generation in
Okay.
university, so I was trying to produce material for Art House and Cybergen, which was my love, and my entrance into RPGs was through Cybergen. And then I started producing my own stuff afterwards, and then let the line license lapse, and they took it back
Yeah.
over. But what I love is this current crop of designers. They just put stuff out there, and it blows me away because I can't do that. I can't. They work at such a speed
Mhm.
that I find beautiful and just kind of like amazing to see. Where they no, they just put it out. They just put it out,
Yep.
and I'm like, you mean like clearly I maybe agonize too much, but like I want everything to be exactly the way I want it to be.
Yeah.
Even like the form factor of We Used to Be Friends, like it's a yearbook. It's
Oh, it's
designed to
so
look like a
cool.
high school yearbook.
In fact, that's a great segue. Let me show that on screen here really quickly. So here is the cover art for it. And then when you get into the spread, let me zoom out just a little bit. Like the table of contents and everything, it looks like the intro to a yearbook, right? With the full layout. And then you have
Hmm.
the note from the principal, the note from the vice principal, all the like this two, the two side layout like this. It's just all the stuff from the school, scrolling down, like all these just completely random photos of people having fun or in the classroom or whatever. It absolutely hits the vibe.
Right. Well, it was so funny too because again, I was like, oh, I won't be able to do it right because again, I'm a one person shop. I do it all myself.
Sure.
Um, And so I'm not particularly good at layout. And so I was like, I can never make it look like that. I can't make it work. And then I saw my daughter's yearbook and I was like, no, no, all the pictures are terribly forced. Stock photography is perfect for this. No one looks like they're like comfortable. It's great. Let's just go. And so yeah, that led to the whole kind of vibe and like look of it. And so
Mhm.
there was a lot of scouring for good, real photography and getting it added to it. So
Yeah, which is
yeah.
it's just a really cool touch, a great way to put it together like that. Um, and
Mhm.
so there's a lot of interesting things that I noticed when reading through here, and uh, I'll let you kind of drive the conversation what you want to talk about. But one of the things that I really appreciated is how much care and attention you put towards guiding the narrative and the types of topics people talk about and the safety involved. I have I'm very happy to see within the industry that most, especially th- ironically, especially the smaller creators and not the big shops, are doing a fantastic job of including player safety as a topic of conversation. What are some of the topics that are likely to come up in this type of game that you need to be aware of? I have not seen anybody dedicate as much space in the book
Ah,
to it as you have. And I think that that's a good thing, especially because it's an important thing that I don't know gets enough airtime in the general world, But also, given the collaborative nature of this, I think that guardrails become even more important than in a GM-led situation where you have one person kind of responsible for making sure that things stay on track. Here, you're absolutely putting that burden on each person at the table to be mindful and respectful of everybody else in that way, and I really appreciated that.
No, thank you. So, like, and part of that too is having run this game a lot and talked to people about this game a lot. One of the things that came up is I had someone who scoffed about the idea of a collaborative game at a convention, and I said, "Okay, that makes sense, but like that's in general, like
Yeah,
a collaborative game requires everyone to know the rules the same, everyone to have the same intent and
mhm,
everything, and that's never going to happen. Like that's the ideal state
sure,
is everyone going on here. So like I wanted to talk about people who own the book. How do you help create that kind of activity and that kind of mindset and other people at the table?
yeah,
And so you need to have those explanations. You're like, look, this is talking about safety. Hey, this is talking about play, right? How do you make sure you as a person, like, because I would do that. I have a tendency to be very like, oh, this is interesting, let's do it. So you want to be excited, you want to do something, but how do you make sure that you're not then taking over things instead of letting other people have a moment, right?
right,
How do you make sure that we're all having a good time, because that you said that
mhm,
responsibility does get shared among everyone,
yep,
and you want to make sure everyone's understanding the responsibility they're taking on in any collaborative game, right? Where
right,
we're all here to have a good time, and if someone you do something that makes someone not have a good time, again, I don't think there doesn't be maliciousness behind it. It could just be a thoughtless thing or not being aware, but then all of a sudden you're not having no one's having a good time,
right, right. No, I
you know
totally agree.
so mhm.
And I one of the things that I liked about the way you kind of delved into that topic in the layout of the book is presenting the student bill of rights.
Okay, I cannot take that. That is Quinn Murphy. That is 100% Quinn Murphy. He
Okay,
has a whole bill of rights thing that
nice.
it's referenced in there, but that is 100% Quinn Murphy. Quinn is a fantastic designer. If you haven't checked out his
Hmm.
stuff, it's Thought Crime Games. I'm gonna plug it right here for 1 second. One of my favorite games that I ever got to play was Five Fires, which is coming out
Nice,
soon. So check that one out too. It is phenomenal. But that student bill of rights is 100% Quinn Murphy.
nice. It just fits so beautifully in the setting that you have here. So
Yeah. Well, and that's why I saw it. I'm like, Quinn, because he said put it in your game. I was like 100%. This is Quinn Murphy.
yeah,
Go
yeah, yeah, you've
100%.
got the credit right there in the book. Yeah,
Yeah, right?
nice.
Yeah, but it's 100% Quinn Murphy, and he's phenomenal, and I can't take credit for that, but I'm very happy that I got to use it.
Lovely. Hey, thanks,
No,
Tony, for posting that link.
Woot.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I think one thing I actually wanted to bring up too, if we're gonna talk about things I
Yeah.
want to pop up, is I needed to add this, and there's a whole section about ACAB in the book.
Yes.
And I needed to bring it up because let me tell you, the first time someone asked if they could play test this for me without me
Uh-huh.
being there, a
Yeah.
person ended up derailing the game for 2 hours because they couldn't accept the fact that the police had to be the bad guys in the story.
Oh my.
And I debated about adding that section because I was like, oh, it's gonna be a long enough essay. Do I really want to go into it? Do I really want to? Not that it's like how important. And then after that happened, I'm like, I should. And then it took me again another few years to like
Yeah.
get all the resources to start actually
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
sourcing the material that I'm referencing. And
That was the I think so what's hilarious is as I'm reading through I read through top to bottom, right? And so I'm reading
Mhm.
through and I'm going I kind of chuckled. I'm like we're going to be good friends. And I keep reading. I'm like I keep reading and like, yeah, he stopped just shy of saying ACAB. Nope, never mind, there it is.
There it is.
but
But like,
but the actually citing sources and explaining and it falls right up there with the whole not all men argument and all those types of things, right? The answer is yes, statistically, yes, absolutely, all.
Yeah.
And it
All.
doesn't mean that you don't have one buddy that's a good guy. It's the system, the institution is wrecked, and there's that's just the way it is, and data proves that, and you back that up with evidence. And I like, especially when you're setting something, and this is honestly, this is one of the reasons that I feel when I'm running games, I tend to favor fantastical and non-real world settings with the games that I run personally. I feel, and I've spent a lot of time over the last year kind of trying to reflect on that a little bit. Why is that? And part of it is I realized that I feel more comfortable avoiding topics or steering the conversation when we're in a fantastical world that I control. And it's because stuff like this comes up. And so if you're going to have a real world setting, you have to kind of address that, especially when it's going to be something that involves pulling in people. It becomes even more important. Like if you're going to play this at a gaming convention, right? Or with people you do not know well, as opposed to, I don't know, your best friends, that changes fundamentally the way you need to approach handling these topics. And having a good framework built into the setting, I think, is incredibly valuable.
Mhm. Well, two things. I mean, going back to that joke, I think my friends might describe me as the Timu Brandon Lee Mulligan because the enemy of all things is capitalism. Um, but at heart, two things happen. One that came up because when you play the game, it's designed to be played it's designed to be played over a long period of time. But one of the things that it does is you set up your setting. It provides you
Yeah.
guiding through setting. And one of them is how are the police bad?
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
And it
sure.
defaults to that. But part of that is that's detective fiction, right?
Yeah, it
If you
is.
read
Absolutely, it is.
reading all of the old Chandler and Hammett, and the reason why you need the detective is because the police will not help you, right?
Mhm.
Like that is the staple of detective fiction. You know, if you go back to if you read the Chandler novels, the cops hate Chandler because he was one of them and saw them as a gang, which they were and are, and then said, I don't want to deal with this and left. And so the police are antagonistic to the detective because the detective rejected the system and works outside the system. That is like a feature of noir detective. Like you can't get away from it. You know? I mean, again, you watch Veronica Mars. One of the bad guys is the chief of police. You know?
Yeah. That tracks.
Right? And so like you have to understand that's part of I mean, that's why you said it, oh, I just go short of, and then I felt I had to continue on to show
Right.
like here's the framework, why you need to
Right.
include this, why this is a staple part of this fiction that you can't escape from, right? Like you
Yep.
really can't get away from the fact that the systems that are supposed to work do not. And this is why you need a detective, even if
Yeah,
the detective is
absolutely.
16 years old.
Yeah. Even Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Yeah. That's funny. Excellent comment. Nice. So so if you don't mind, I'd like to segue just a little bit into talking a little bit more about the setup. So there's a lot
Mm.
of really cool setup components in here, and I appreciated that it's a a directed process. Um, One of the things that I struggle with when kind of jumping in, especially when jumping into a new game, is if it's so open-ended that I don't know where to start, I kind of get lost a little bit. You've really done a good job of directing it and providing a framework for how to be creative. Totally suffer from blank page syndrome. I look at a
Mhm.
blank page, I have no idea what to put on it, but when you've got kind of that guiding in the framework, it's really interesting. And so this kind of ties into something you and I talked about the other day, which is about Laurel Link. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share um, the screen really quickly because I think you've
Yeah.
got some cool things showing here. Give me one second. Um, So I know you talked about you prefer to be a less planning up front type of person,
Mhm.
which totally get. But one of the things when if you're wanting to build something like this over time, you probably want to document what is the world we came up with, what are the stories we've told, what are the episodic mysteries we've solved versus the season mystery we're working through, and taking notes on
Mhm.
that together can be really interesting. So um, it looks like
Yeah.
you've
So
started working on that actually here in Lorelink.
yeah, 100%. And so what I did is I have a plug and play setting based off my hometown. So I grew up in a place called Sault Ste. Marie, and
Yeah.
so I kind of was like, what would this place be like here? And so this kind of goes through some of the questions. So what I did is I kind of used a location, and then from there, what I did is I love how you have little markup tables. They're really nice. They look really nice on here.
Nice.
Because what it does is you go through the setting, and this is something I built on my own, and so but you would build this with other people. Is you start with because again, uh, Timu Brandon Lee Mulligan, the original question is a class issue, right?
Yep.
You
Yep.
have to start with the haves. Why do people have money? And there's a whole list
Yep.
of reasons why people have money in the town. For in this case in Steelton, it's resources. There's a steel plant that
Mhm.
drives the economy. The people who own the steel plant have a pile of money. You know,
Mhm.
it's a fairly old town, so there's some old money in the town as well. So these people have always been rich and they've always kind of had it. Even if they're no longer really wealthy, they still have that old money kind of feel to them. And then there's service. There's a couple big retailers in town. The people who own those stores kind of have all the money. And then if you look at the knots, it's called that because these are the reasons why people have or there's a large amount of poverty in the area. It goes through a whole bunch of different reasons. For in this case, it's a single major employer. You either work for the steel plant or you don't. And if you don't, you tend to work in service jobs that aren't paying you very
Yep.
well.
Yep.
And then there's substance abuse. Again, this is one of the things that you talk
Yep.
about as like a warning. This is a conversation you have at the table. Like if you
Yep.
don't want this, you don't put it in there. But I put it in there
Yeah.
because
Of
again,
course.
where I grew up now has a huge substance abuse problem. And so that
Yep.
leads to poverty or it's a cycle, right? Poverty leads to
Yeah. Of course.
substance abuse leads to poverty, and then you just continue to spiral down. And then you look at the police, right? Why are they bad? It's
Yep.
aggressive, um, indifferent, corrupt, or cronyism. Now, aggressive again, if you want, like we flag it out in the book. If you want aggressive police, that can be traumatic for some people. So be careful with that. But like here, the cops are indifferent and corrupt. If you don't have cash,
Yep.
they're not interested. And if you make them work, they're really not going to be friends with you. But then, like, what are other authority figures? Oh, like, what are they looking for? And you don't want them to overlap. They're not going to be completely the same. They can share one, but they can't have more than one because you want that kind of diversity in how the thing plays.
Yep.
Um, Yeah, and then you start asking questions about the location. So we have, upon hills. Well, the question is, what do you call where the rich people live and what makes it excessive? Right? Well, it's called upon the hills. They live upon
Nice.
the hill and they have all this extra space. And they have these big yards and these swimming pools and neighborhoods that if you don't know how to navigate it, you're not going to be able to find your way.
Yep.
And again, what's really great is that it links everything back here. And so even further down, we asked a question, where's I should have updated the thing the way I did it, but the question is, where's the place to hear gossip? Well, it's the Billy Bishop Mall. You
Right.
go to the food court at Billy Bishop Mall and people are there talking all the time and you get to hear all sorts of stuff you probably shouldn't,
Nice.
right? And the nice thing is it's all kind of right there. So like, it's just
Yeah.
I do appreciate how you've kind of got this set up. So again, you can see like,
Hierarchy. Yeah.
this is yeah, this is where, the question is what do you call where the poor people live and what makes it difficult? It's called that because it's
Yep.
next to the steel plant. It's called the dirts because it's by all the smoke and the steel plant and the chemicals and you know, it's a little darker than everywhere else because of the constant kind of little bit of cloud that's over it.
Right.
I have that spot. I remember being a young child and my dad worked at that steel plant and I would go there and it literally looked like hell. Like you'd walk in and there's all these dark overhanging beams and this fire shooting up everywhere. And I was just like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
like as like a 5-year-old, it's a burned memory in my brain for how terrifying it
Yeah.
was, right? So yeah, so it's just really a
Nice.
great way to kind of be able to come up and you know go back to your list and see where everything is, and then kind of like put things in locations, right? So we have where's the what's the name of a public meeting place? Well, we got the Del Vecchio Family Aquatic Center. And it's really good too because
Nice.
one of the things that happens a lot is people reference the sheet all the time because they want to, when we're playing a game for the first time, they want to keep referencing the places that we've built,
Yeah, that makes sense.
right?
That makes sense. Yeah. You start building narrative around places. Um, you start building narrative around people you've talked to or met, I imagine, and
Hmm.
probably also just like anytime a group of friends get together, you always talk about things you've done in the past, right? So you're going to refer back to stories you've already built together as
Hmm.
you go into this sort of narrative.
Right. No, 100%. And like I said, I just started playing with this one because I'm looking at like
Yeah,
items and how to like
yeah,
use items for if I was going to use clues. And so
yeah,
use the
right, right.
item list for me because again, it's a Powered by the Apocalypse game. Items don't really matter. Really, the only
No, for
items
sure.
you're dealing with are the clues,
Yeah,
right? And then
absolutely.
you
One,
associate them with people, and then that becomes your suspect list.
yes, 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 absolutely. So one of the things that is going to be coming soon for Lorelink to try to help with this exact type of scenario is being able to customize the categories of lore and how they'll
Oh,
present. So for example, you're like, I don't need items in my game, but I want to have clues. You'll be able to do that
oh,
really easily and help tailor that a little bit.
no, that's fantastic. Like customization's just the key to any type of software
It
like
really
this, right?
is.
Like you want to make sure,
Yeah.
everyone wants to do it their way, and if you give them the ability to do it their way, they're like, "Oh, this is amazing."
Well, what's interesting is you need to be able to do that, but you still have to do it in an opinionated way
Mhm,
because what what I keep running into when talking to people is everybody wants it's fine if you get it wrong, so long as you let them correct it. But if you don't present something, then you end up with that same situation I talked about. You've got like this blank page problem. It's like I don't know how to get started. I don't know what to get into. If I see something that's wrong, I can fix it. But if there's nothing there at all, oh, I don't know what I should do, or I don't know how to organize this, or I don't know what to put here. And then you haven't solved a different problem than, I don't know, just having a Google Doc, for example.
mhm. No. So here's a question I'm gonna throw at you. I know
Yeah.
we're talking back and forth, but we're talking design stuff, and I also work in IT, so software I also appreciate, and the thing that pays my bills is IT. The thing I love is game design.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
hear that.
right? So like to help with a blank space problem, do you
Mhm.
have like are you thinking of building pre-generated like templates or pre-generated kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
things? Not to just kind of be like,
Yeah.
hey, here, because I didn't look like that could be on me. You
Yeah.
could have it already, but like here's something to help get you started.
Yeah. So there's one thing we have today, which is
Mm,
in our paid plans, we have templates. And so you
mhm,
can create a template and add custom properties to that template. And then you can use that template to rapidly generate new things. The that works well for it would work for anything. The problem is because it's tied to that specific campaign, it generally only works really well for long running campaigns where you're creating a lot of one type of thing. So it works
mhm,
great for your D&Ds and your Pathfinders and those types of things when you're creating a lot of NPCs or whatever following a template. What we want to follow that up with and on the roadmap for this year big time is creating the ability to maybe create a campaign from a specific system, and then that system comes along with templates and opinions that are tailored to that system so that the terminology and the language exists. There's already templates that come in, so creating things that make sense in that system are already there. And then the next thing that we would like to do is have a marketplace where you can, select from either a system so that because we want to make sure that the creatives get paid for the work they've done. So we're not going to just pull in system details without collaboration with folks, obviously. Um, so you'd be able to say, hey, I would like to buy this system and be able to use that inside of Lorelink, or I would like to um, pick up this adventure, right? That's and pull that in and create campaigns based upon that, so that you come along with all that stuff right out of the gate. Because I think that making it easy for people to get started in a new
Hmm.
system they're not familiar with, or a new adventure, and that focus, we're really focusing on two things. One, this started as a GM tool and it's really morphed from something else, because the very first thing we did when that happened when we got this in front of game masters is they're like, this is amazing. Now, how do I share all this with my players? Okay, cool. This really morphed from being our vision of a digital GM screen
Hmm.
to really a collaborative platform where you can invite players in, you can choose what to share with the players, what can each person see, and so there's going to be, even in a collaborative system like this, going to be one person who's kind of in charge of creating and managing the space, but you can absolutely make everything visible to everyone, so that everybody can come in and create things.
No,
And so
that's fantastic.
that's a big push for us, is how do I share information with everybody involved in the game, make that available, and not just use this for necessarily planning in advance, but also documenting what's happened and where we've been. Everybody should be able to take notes and add things as to what's happening through the course of a session, for example, or an episode, or whatever that may look like.
No, that's amazing. That's like I really appreciate that because I would have been one of those people too, where it's like this is great, but I want to be able to use this and refer back to this and have people be able
Yeah,
to
of
see it. So
course.
the fact that the system does that and you're building on top of that is something that's fantastic.
One of the things that drove this, actually, hilariously, one of the things that drove this originally was, hey, it'd be really great if we had had a way to share details of a game when you're streaming on Twitch. And we never got around to building out all the Twitch integration tools that were the original vision. And it turned into a virtual GM platform and then a sharing platform for the players. And I think that's really, I think the long-term vision is, how do you organize? Because VTTs are great for sitting around a table, but they really miss 80% of what I care about when I'm running a game. They're really only good at maps and tokens and effects,
Hmm.
maybe some dice rolling, but they don't. None of them do a good job of capturing the story and the details and managing kind of the between session type of work, or building out a story and connecting things together that just doesn't exist. And the tools that do exist, by and large, are so committed to the top 3 or 4 systems that we felt there was a huge gap in the digital marketplace for RPG tools, for the hundreds or thousands of amazing indie RPGs that are out there that could benefit from this sort of support. And I think that our vision is to continue serving that community, trying to make sure that Lurelink is adaptable enough to be able to work with any system. That's always been the goal,
Hmm.
um,
I think it's a
to
good
make
job.
that
I
work.
think like again, like I like the thing
Appreciate it.
I didn't show up on the screen is I like the little like map, the little like how you have the little
Yeah,
plot map
yeah.
thing that popped up. I'm like, oh, that's so good. I like that.
We have big plans for that this year too. I think that's going to be, right now it's just kind of a visual representation, but we want that to become a lot more,
I don't know any other platform that does a visual representation of your data,
right?
right?
Yeah. I
So
think
I
there's
have a we used to be friends
one
question for
that
you though,
does
and it's
that a little bit now, but we
mm,
started that when we launched about 3 years ago. Nobody was doing it at the time, and I think that's a because of how complex the types of data we're talking about are, right? And this is the thing. At the end of the day, I don't even think we're competing with other platforms. Not really. We're competing against pencil and paper and Google Docs. And what are the things that those formats don't do well when you're trying to take notes about an adventure, right? And if you're sitting at the table taking notes about something on pen and paper, you're not able to move things around, you're not able to reconnect dots, you're not able to link things together very easily. You've got to flip through pages instead. What is the way that we want to think about things when we're building stories? And the answer is it's got to be super dynamic. For example, a clue. I want to be able to create a clue and maybe even have that clue associated with the player who created it. But then I need to be able to assign it to an NPC or a location or right easily
Yeah.
because it
I
has a
mean,
life.
at the table, let me tell you, there's a lot of torn up index cards that have
I can imagine.
right?
Can imagine.
That's the joke is indie games are writing sad things on index cards. Mine is writing clues on smaller pieces of index cards.
Yes,
So
I can
I got
totally
one
see
question
that.
for you.
Yeah, of
If
course.
you could looking because you read all of them, what playbook
Yeah.
would you want to be? Like if you could play one right now, what is the one that kind of drew your attention?
Oh man. I they all had some level of interest to me. I think that trying to pull up the list so I can let's see here the playbook. Yeah. So I think maybe the plotter.
That's interesting. I love that. The
Yeah.
plotter's hard. When we designed them, there was the 5 that were kind of like the ash can ones were the ones that
Yeah,
were easier to kind of get a hold of. You know,
sure.
so it's the hard boiled, the sidekick,
Yeah.
the delinquent, the socialite, and the tech geek. People can grasp
Yes.
those fairly easy. The
Yeah,
ones
that
that
makes
were a
sense.
little harder, the ones that you notice they're not necessarily. I don't know if I put them in alphabetical order, but I put them in. These are the 5 easier ones, kind of first, and then the the ingenue, the plotter, the he's my favorite libertine. I love the libertine.
Yeah.
But the libertine needs someone who wants to do things. If you pick the
Yes.
libertine
Yes.
and you're not interested in starting shit,
Uh-huh.
don't be the libertine. But the
Oh yeah, for
libertine is
sure.
very much designed to be the wastrel prince, and you need to play
Uh-huh.
that to the hilt and beyond.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah. For everyone on stream, I could see Mark playing a libertine very well. uh,
Yeah.
he's our
And also to like
he's
we did
he's
try to
the product lead for Lurelink, so he would just have so much fun with that, I think.
right? Because like the other thing too is they do have intimacy moves, and we did try to call it intimacy moves because it isn't
Yeah.
just meant to be like the sex move from Apocalypse
Yeah.
World, but also it is. Like it doesn't shy away from that, but we did want to
Yeah.
kind of expand the thing a little bit.
Yeah.
Because like that's a big part of being that age. You're confused as
Oh
shit
yeah.
about your sexuality and what you want and what's going on and what's happening. And so like again, trying to like use the stuff that already existed, right? Through the games that came before that it's based off of,
Yeah.
and then really building on top of it. So the other thing I want to bring up, actually, if we got time for this,
Yeah, of course.
is the friendship mechanic. So
Oh
what
yes.
what we did is originally, again, it was Veronica Monster Hearts, so it was all strings, right? And then I was like, I don't know if I want to use that. And so what we did instead is I created you have friends slots basically. You can put players in there, but they're really at heart meant for NPCs. Um, And so what happens is over the course of the game is if you get stuck or you want to bring a friend into a scene, you make a friendship roll. And you have good
Mhm.
friends, rivals, acquaintances, and enemies.
Mhm.
And you bring them into the scene by making the roll, and the roll gives you good things and bad things that can happen because you've introduced them to the scene.
Yep.
And of course, you have your best friend, which you get a special move with your best friend. And one thing I love is at the end of every episode, you can decide if you're still best friends or not because it's not reciprocal. It's who do you think your best friend is? And so what's
Always, yeah.
always yeah, but what's always great about that is that you get these wonderful dynamics at the table, right? You get these dynamics where you have one person who everyone thinks is their best friend, or you get the clique that exists and like the two people who are like connected, but like the clique is all like they're all best friends with each other, and there's this like little circle and these two people on the outside, right? It just it creates such an interesting table dynamic. Again, the players are fine because everyone's engaged and aware of it, but the character dynamics are so interesting because of that.
Yeah. I it the concept of being able to kind of manage your social circles as part of the game and using them to either help or stir up the story. There's so many reasons you might choose to bring. You might choose to bring your enemy into the scene. Maybe you're going to point your finger at them, or make them the scapegoat for something,
Or start a fight, or like like
yeah,
okay, when you start a fight, I know who's here. Let me roll that, and it helps you keep track of that kind of cast of NPC characters,
Mhm.
but also it helped like there's the what I like about the game too is that if you aren't using an NPC, you have used them for a while, and you want to fill someone else in that slot, you can like
Yeah,
just do it. Like there's no hard and fast rule that no, if you don't use them X number of times, it's like no, you at the table feel like this person should move, go for it.
right.
And each character is different, right? Like the hard boil doesn't have doesn't have good friends, has one best friend and a bunch of acquaintances and a whole pile of enemies,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The sidekick
That
has
tracks.
way more good friends. Why? They're the sidekick, everybody's friend, and all this kind of stuff. And so it's just a huge part of the kind of like just how it just helps you maintain and fill the world.
So, when you're actually at the table playing the game, do you find that each player kind of has their go-to list of NPCs that they're managing, or do you find that people utilize each other's NPCs that they've introduced freely?
Yes, because in part what happens is that if you introduce an NPC, it's a collaborative game. There's no GM playing
Yeah,
the
of course.
NPC. So someone else has to take on the NPC. And
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
find like people get kind of possessive of other people's
Ah,
NPCs because they
that's
tend to
funny. That
play them
makes
a lot.
sense. Nice. I
Right? And
like
so they're
that a
also
lot.
invested. So if you have a mystery that accuses one of those NPCs, like that player is engaged.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, that's a unique thing to this sort of collaborative storytelling that wouldn't like it's not that in traditional games you don't necessarily get attached to an NPC. And what's funny is I find that players will often get attached to a GM's NPC based upon how engaging the GM is as that NPC. Do you have a special voice for them? Do you have a different expression, or do you put on a special hat when you're playing? Whatever,
Mhm.
that helps bring you in. But because you're the one playing the NPC, you get attached to it. That's a cool twist.
Right?
Huh.
And it's so very different and it keeps everyone so engaged. Again, people get it takes a minute for people to get used to. Where when
I'm
you're
sure.
running the game, because again, like I say run the game, but it's really facilitating a game at a convention. Because I play too. Like
Yeah.
I'll hop in. We got four people, great. I'm the fifth player. I'm playing,
Mhm.
right? but because it's my game and I know the rules, I'll facilitate the rules for everybody. But like getting people to be like, okay, who wants to play this NPC? And everyone goes,
Hmm.
I get to do that? What? Sure. And then you get the person like, all right, I'll do it. And then they do it for the first time and they're like, okay, that was kind of fun. Yeah, play
Uh-huh.
them. You know what they want. Like they have like this is the player. Like you know the setting.
Yeah.
Be a best friend. Be an
Yeah.
acquaintance. Like what does that mean for you? You know? And then if they make the move, how does that affect it gives you some things to hang a hat on when it comes to like how you want to play the character.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
no,
a lot of
it's
improv.
It's a I mean, it is it totally is. The thing is I also tell people too is, like, I think I try to mention in the game too, is, like, there's not one way to play it. If you just wanna describe
No,
what's
sure.
going on, just describe it. You don't have to
Yeah.
get into character or start yelling at each
Yeah.
other from across the table.
No, that
Um,
makes sense.
right?
And
But, like, on
different
top
groups have different levels of investment on that front too, and there's nothing wrong with that.
exactly. And, it's because I mean, and I've learned that. I remember when I started, it was an improv acting class in my 20s, and I'm like, "No, we will do the voices, and we will, like, wave our arms," and, um I think I literally were playing Cybergen one time, and I literally got into a shouting match with a friend, and people like were uncomfortable. Like, no, no, we're fine. We're having a good time. And then we had to like continue back at yelling at each other. But
That's funny.
it's not everyone's bag, and if you want to make sure the table's having fun, you want to make sure you're meeting the people where they're at. And I
Mm.
hope it's very different, and it's a very different experience for some people. But I hope that when people play it, they get to bring what they look for in playing a game and have a good time playing it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Anything else that you would like to share about this? So out of curiosity,
Mhm.
um, where can people find the game?
No,
They
well,
want to actually start
Firestorm Inc. in
playing.
all the places. INK,
Perfect.
not INC. That pun has gotten me into more trouble than I care to count. Um, so itch drive through IPR has copies if you want to buy from Indie Press Revolution.
Oh, cool.
Um, yeah, that's the three places I sell where everyone else kind of sells. You can get
Nice.
that there. I have a couple other projects. I have Behind You, which is my PBTA collaborative horror game, where
Nice.
you build a lineup with a killer at the end, and as you play the game, it kills the person at the end of the line, but the moves will switch the order of the line.
Oh, okay.
Right? So how do you do collaborative stuff like that? I also do board and
Yeah.
card games. So I've done the last one I recently did was Behexed with Smirk and Dagger. So if you find Smirk and Dagger
Nice.
games, yeah, you
Yeah.
find that stuff there. I kind of do a little bit of everything. But
Nice.
if you want to find the latest stuff, it's all Firestorm Inc. At all the itch drive through and IPR.
Fantastic. And when did you publish? I didn't see the year on this. When did you publish We Used to Be Friends?
Used to be friends, I think. See, I have to go back. It's been, you know, I forget. I think it's been about 4 or 5 years. I think it's
Nice.
I think ooh, eh, maybe
Time's a blur lately, I tell you.
it's a blur. It's a blur. But yeah, no, we used to be friends. Been out for about 5 years. I work slow, and so all the stuff I'm working on now will be something that comes out in another like 3 4 years as I kind of poke at it over the finish line.
Right.
But
What?
yeah.
So you mentioned you're primarily a solo creator, right? So
Hmm.
what do you think is the hardest part for you on doing this on your own?
All of it? Here's the thing, it's not easy. Well, because, like, I don't
Yeah.
do
No, of course not.
small I like, the smallest game I did has been so far Behind You, which is my horror game, which is
Okay.
10,000 words, right? It was originally
Wow.
a
Okay.
magazine. Well, okay,
Hmm.
so just to hop in Behind You because I'm really excited about it. It was something I
Yeah.
did for a magazine, and it was about 1,500 words. And I'm like, okay, that's fine for a magazine, but it doesn't really go into detail. So it's like, yeah, let's talk about the history of horror, right? Let's talk about like, because like helping that context applies, right? Because you can't just be like, oh, play a horror game. I have to be like, okay, here's a horror game. It's really fun. Here are the pitfalls, right? Like here are things like horror is great, but it
Mhm.
also has a terrible history of like homophobia and
Yeah.
sexism and racism, and like
Yeah.
how do you try to avoid those pitfalls when you play your improv game?
Mhm.
Because when you do improv, you default to patterns you recognize. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, a lot of those patterns that we instinctually lean
Yeah.
to come from this history of racism and homophobia and
Yeah.
sexism and all this terrible stuff. So, like, how do you provide tools for people to help avoid hitting those pitfalls? You
Yeah.
know?
I 100% agree that that is important. In fact, I would say that if I'm looking at two similar games to play, I'm going to pick the one that addresses that and provides some guidelines, right? Because
Right?
I it is hard, and I think the more awareness you gain of some of this kind of cultural baggage, the more you realize that it can be hard if you're just going based upon pop culture tropes that you grew up with. And the number of times I have remembered a show or a book or a graphic novel fondly and gone back to look at it later and I'm like, this is terrible.
It is a product of its time.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh. And we
Yeah.
can do better now.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like we can always do better. And I'm sure I've made plenty of mistakes in the stuff that I've done that people will do better in the future, right? Like
Sure,
that's the iterative process of this, right? We want to keep
it
trying to
is.
be better. We want to keep trying to do better. And it's progress is slow and hard, right?
Mhm,
We talk about I keep thinking about all the stuff that's going on, for like truth and reconciliation in Canada. And I want it to
mhm,
be done now. But I realize the stuff we're doing now isn't for me. It's
mhm.
for my kids and my kids' kids, right?
Right.
So that things
Yep.
that people argue about now will be natural for them. But that's 20, 50 years in the future.
Yep.
It is a slow, painful process. And how do we do our part to kind of push that giant boulder up that hill?
Yes. Yes. And still acknowledge our human need for, I don't know, connection and entertainment and fun, and it's still okay to have those things and do those things,
Mhm.
but to do it
Right.
responsibly.
Well, I mean, responsibly also feels hard. You know what I mean? Like it's like
Yeah.
we have a certain. Sorry, everyone. We're getting into like cultural theory at this point in time. My background in English literature is like, yes, excellent. Let's do this, right? And so, what what we're it's like a collective need to do this, right? And how do we do it to make sure it's collective? Right? Like that's the ideal state is that we are able to collectively do this. Um and you know, again we can go there's lots of area to unpack all of that statement. But like, we want to do it as a group because that's how we succeed.
Mhm. Yeah. 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 Absolutely. And I feel like from what I've seen from some of the folks around me that games and role-playing games in particular can be a really great place for people to kind of expand their mind a little bit and to test things out that they might not be comfortable with in their day-to-day life. And
Hmm.
I've seen a lot of awareness shift as people put themselves into situations in a game and are like, oh, that sucked. I see why that's a problem now.
Yeah, I see what this is the bad.
Right?
This is bad. Oh god. Yeah. Um, but like
Ah,
again, that's what goes back to the original point. We're all stories in play. And so if you can
yeah.
combine the two of those things, it can be a very amazing and powerful thing, even if without growth, right? Like, you know, um, I you know, we you tell people about long campaigns you've been in, and you immediately get those feelings back,
Uh-huh.
right? Like I had a long running game of Blades with a bunch of friends, and
Nice.
it's constantly on my mind fondly of
Oh yes.
all the stuff that happened there and how that worked and how those characters were and like what we, you know, how we learned and what we, all the times they made fun of me for stuff for like, oh, this is a Jonathan plot. Like, okay, look, right. Uh, but so like, but just all of that kind of stuff, and those are those memories that bring us together, like as a group, as
Mhm.
you know, as individual groups, and then collectively for people who play games, we all have those experiences. Even if it's not that one, I can say, hey, you think fondly back on this game, and everyone goes, oh yeah, and they all think fondly back on their own game. That's that game for them, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. My core gaming group, we all went to college together, and it's been
Mhm.
almost 30 years now. We have so many games that we've been in for 3 or 4 years, right? So many long-running games at this point. It's just some days you get together to play a game, and all you do end up doing is telling stories.
Right?
Uh,
But that's what you were doing anyway. You just told a different
yeah,
story that day,
exactly. For sure. For
you
sure.
know?
Mm.
So yeah, it's again, I just want to just put it back to the to
Yeah.
slightly remove us from the philosophy has entered the chat line.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, of course.
like, well, no, I just wanted to I want to thank you for the ability to be on here and
No,
chat about this kind of stuff because uh
absolutely.
I I love games. I've always loved games. I love, you know, I love I love particularly watching people file serial numbers off. Because that's what this is at heart.
Yes.
This is me filing off some serial
Yes.
numbers and putting out, I mean, I make no bones about it in the introduction. Like, I'm not a collective noun fan, but if
Yep.
someone had called me a marshmallow, I've been like, that's fair, right? I'm very much that Veronica Mars kind of fan. I backed the movie kind of thing. Like I was there. And
Nice.
so like watching other people do that too. Like my friend Jeff Batone, he did his Star Trek file off, which is Boldly Go, and I love that,
Mhm.
right? Like I just any other game where someone has filed the serial numbers off, which is again so many PBTAs. Let's understand it. A lot of Powered by the Apocalypse is I want to create this experience, but I don't have the license to the product. So let me
Yes.
just file those serial numbers off, and here is my game. And
Yes.
I love it, and that's what a particular thing I love about the PBTA space in
Mhm.
games that have been created through that, and new games that come through it, is that it's such refined to such a point to create that experience, and how they did it and what they did is always so interesting for me.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. And that's been, I think, one of the really rewarding things for me in the past year is getting to meet so many people that have created games, getting introduced to so many different games, and just what all's out there. I love doing this stream because it has been absolutely opening my eyes to a wider world of opportunity that's out there, and hopefully uh, other folks as well, as they find the stream or find the videos later, and get to see all this. So,
No, fantastic.
well, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate you joining me tonight, and talking through. Um, we used to be friends, and kind of some of the theory and philosophy of playing and designing games has been fantastic. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. Honestly, Michael, it's been a great time. I've had a great conversation, and I appreciate the ability to talk about my stuff, but talk about your stuff. Like I like talking
Yeah,
games. I like talking about
appreciate
all
it.
this stuff. So this has just been a joy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for being with us tonight. Thanks for being in the chat. You will be able to find this on YouTube in just a few days. So continue. Please be sure to follow Firestorm Inc., follow Jonathan, and check out Lorelink, lorelink.com. We're here to build digital tools for all kinds of TTRPGs. So that's what we do, and we'll be back next Tuesday with yet another stream and another game to introduce to you. So thank you all much, and have a good evening.